Hello, today I am going to show you how to make some trout papillote. My name is Steve Driver. I'm the chef at Tasman Lake Lodge, which is in the top left-hand corner of Saskatchewan, near Lake Athabasca, where we feature a beautiful lodge, scenic area, lots of hills and lots of sand. It's a beautiful area to catch jumbo lake trout, some of the biggest I've ever seen. And also northern pike in just a pristine environment. We have a beautiful lodge there, and we serve you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The guides cook you lunch, they cook all the fish, but today I'm going to show you how to make one fish dish called trout papillote. And that'll be coming up in a minute, so stay tuned. Hey Scott, I've got a beautiful piece of trout here for you. It's a beautiful fresh trout. I've got the skin on it, and I want to show you guys how to make a trout papillote, which is a classic French dish where we take a piece of this beautiful boneless trout and we're going to put it inside a piece of paper and cook it that way. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to take the skin off of this guy. First thing I want to do is just dig my nail into his back part of his fillet there, of the skin, and then I get it started here with my, it's odd that I'm using my bread knife, but I'll tell you what. This is how I clean fish. Always use my bread knife for that. So it just takes it off so cleanly if you're careful. And I'm kind of tugging the skin a little bit with the knife, and sort of like a tug-of-war with a puppy in a sock. And that's all there is to it. And out comes the skin. Nice and clean. So thank you, Mr. Bread Knife. It works every time. So there I've got a nice, clean trout fillet. Alright, so we've got our trout fillets ready to go. They're all boneless. They're cut into the portions that I want them in. Right here I've got an individual one, so I'm going to show you how to do one smaller one. Out of this parchment paper, we're going to put this small guy in this one. So what you got to do to start this off is take your paper, and just like on Valentine's Day when you were a kid, you make a heart shape for your mom for Christmas. Or I'm sorry, for Valentine's Day. I have to cut that out. Okay, so I'm going to make a heart shape out of the parchment paper. And then it's going to go down to a point like that. And I'll just move that aside. So now I can take some olive oil and just lightly put a little bit of olive oil on the paper, so that when I put the fish down, it's got some oil underneath it. So I'm going to place the fish right here, and as you can see off to the side here, I've got a plate full of different flavorings and ingredients that we're going to put. I'll just spread that oil out a little bit, and I'll bring the camera over here to show you some of the things that I've got. I'm going to do two different styles of papillote for you. One is going to be just the fish by itself, and I've got a lot of different flavorings that I can talk about here. I've got some Supremes that I cut out of a lemon, so that's going to be your number one lemon flavor, is this Supreme. So that's cut out, there's no pulp or anything with it. The other option is to put in a whole slice of lemon, and yet another option is to take the zest off of the lemon like this and have that as your lemon flavoring. So maybe not all of these things, but choose a couple of them or one of them to flavor your fish. So here I've got a little salsa made with jalapeno, fresh jalapeno, and some tomato concasse, which means the tomato's been seeded and peeled, and all there is the tomato meat. Here I've got some fresh jalapeno. Here I've got some charred jalapeno that's been diced. Here's a big pile of just plain tomato concasse right here. And I got some peppers that are unblanched, and the zucchinis are unblanched, but I've got some nice sculpted carrots here that are actually blanched a little bit, as well as these green beans. We've got those blanched a little bit as well. And then here we've just got some charred chunks of shallot, and over here there's an extra charred piece of shallot just for the plate, and also this celery leaf, which is delicious in a lot of applications. Here we've got a piece of butter that is important for papillote cooking. It always needs a little bit of butter. And right here I've got a portion of steamed rice. So the big one, we're going to make our entree right inside, and we're going to put everything in there, including our starch. And here I've just got some pink salt, and here I've got some fresh cracked pepper. So those are all the ingredients that I have to choose from. And of course, a piece of dill is very edible. It's not like some of the other herbs that are very difficult to eat. Dill is very acceptable to put inside of this pouch. And what I want to do is I'm going to start by seasoning my trout really well. And I didn't like that little pile that fell there, so I want to spread it out and make sure it's nice and even. And then I'm going to take my cracked pepper, a little bit of cracked pepper everywhere. Freshly cracked is always the best. Okay, so in this one, I'm going to take a little bit of this butter here, and I'm just going to take that off, and I'm going to place that butter right in the middle. So that's going to do a wonderful job of transporting flavors through this pouch. Okay, and now I'm going to take my supreme of tomato, or lemon is going to go on at the end. And I think in this one, I really like the sound of this tomato concasse first. Okay, so we're going to put a little pile of that on there first, and that's going to give a nice tomato flavor. No pulp, no seeds. And then I like to spice this one up. I'm going to spice this one up with a little bit of this roasted jalapeno here, charred jalapeno. And we're just going to give that a nice sprig of dill on there. And then we're going to come in with our supremes of lemon. And that is going to flavor that really nicely during the cooking process. And a little bit more butter. And we are ready to wrap this. So what we want to do is we want to fold it over, we want to situate it in the middle. There's many things that we could add to this. A lot of people like to really grease this paper down so that it doesn't discolor during cooking, because if there's some spattering going on inside here, the butter is going to help to keep the paper from turning really brown on you. So this is sort of like sous vide cooking, in where we're going to trap all these flavors inside, and they're going to help cook this, cook into this fish while it's in the oven. So I think we're just going to go with what we got here for our individual portion. And what we do is we'll put our paper over top, and I like to start at the round side, and I'm just going to start making folds on here. And if I use something sharp, I have a great chance of ripping this, so I'm going to use the end of the scissors, and I'm just going to continuously fold so it gets nice and tight in the middle, so that the fish gets nice and tightly enclosed. I'm just going to continue to make folds and seal them really good. It's really important to get this sealed really well, because what's going to happen is the steam is going to collect inside and not get out. And that's going to provide a great little steamer for our fish to cook in. And we're getting close to the point here where I'll show you why I like to leave the point for last. We'll seal that really good. Now I'm getting closer to the point, so the point is going to be folded underneath to secure the packet. Okay, so I've made sure that each crease has been really well folded so that it traps the steam inside. Now one last fold, and then we're going to take this last fold underneath, and that's why you like to have the point for the last little bit, so that you can fold that point underneath and really secure that so that the steam stays inside. And that is how you make a trout papillote. So that's an individual portion where you would leave it secured like this, so that the customer is the one who opens it. Now if the customer opens this, they'll get a little bit of steam and aroma comes out, and that will be very enjoyable for them to eat like that. So this would go in the oven at about 400 degrees Fahrenheit for maybe 10 minutes. And it really depends how big the fish is. Many things you could put inside. You could put some white wine in there if you want a little bit of white wine inside. Many things could go inside to flavor this. So there is a trout papillote. All right, now we're going to show you how to do a different style of papillote, in that I'm going to have the entire meal inside the pouch, so you could actually have your vegetables, as long as you had them cooked the right way. Some vegetables need to be blanched a little bit, some need to be raw. So let's get going here. So we're going to make a little bit bigger heart shape this time. I've got a bigger piece of parchment, and we'll just go ahead and use most of it on this cut. Okay, so we've got our points determined, and there is our heart shape. Okay, so what I want to do again is I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil down just to offer a little bit of grease to that paper so that it doesn't discolor during cooking. There's a little piece of black pepper. Okay, and I'm also going to be placing that trout right there this time. I think I want to place it in a certain way so that I can actually present this meal in this pouch. So maybe what we want to do is just lift the trout, and we're going to add our rice timbo here. This is beautiful steamed rice just cooked by my son Avin. Okay, so there's the starch to our meal, and we're always going to make sure that there's some butter that's going to melt over things. So, you know, we want to have lots of butter to flavor what we've got here. Okay, so now I'm going to go over to our flavorings plate here, and I've got some of these vegetables already prepared. I've got these green beans that are already blanched a little bit. We're just going to put a few of those in there so that when the customer opens this pouch, everything is going to be there for them. Okay, so we're just giving it a nice little seasoning too. Make sure if you spread it out. If you got a little pile of it somewhere, make sure you spread it out so it's nice and even and everything gets an equal seasoning. So a little bit of pepper here in this layer, and we'll keep building. Okay, so I'm going to try to use a little bit of everything that I have here. Got some beautiful sculpted vegetables. That the carrot is blanched a little bit and the zucchini is raw. So some of the vegetables, like for example, a little piece of red pepper like that, it needs to be raw. And I think I like the look of this beautiful shallot section here that's been charred a little bit. That looks nice. Okay, so we're going to put a little bit of celery leaf in here for flavor, and it's going to look pretty too, of course. And we're going to start hitting some of our other ingredients here. Well, I do like my jalapenos. I want to make sure that they get in the butter and the flavor of that gets spread around. And I've got a little bit of lemon zest that we're just going to dust around everywhere so that it gets here, there, and everywhere. And the butter is important because that's going to transport these flavors around. So we'll get a little bit of this tomato concasse. There's no seeds or pulp in a tomato concasse, and it just offers a nice tomato flavor without any pulp or anything. So we'll put a nice supreme of lemon on the top of that. Maybe we'll put in another couple of shapes for our vegetable presentation here. And now we've got a whole meal in one pouch, and it's got everything in it. It's got my tart lemon pieces in there. You know, this is a little bit of salsa that we didn't use in the other dish, so let's just put a little bit of that in there and really overkill here a bit. Okay, so a little bit of butter on top, and that'll help carry the flavors through everything. And to top it all off, if I haven't added too much already, let's just add one nasty big piece of dill right in the middle. Alright, so now we're going to fold this one up, and we'll get these in the oven and we'll be able to show you how they turned out. Okay, so I think I'm going to give it one little dash on top of some seasoning, and hopefully the beans take on some of that butter during cooking as well. So there you go. That is a meal-sized trout papillote with beautiful fresh trout. And now again, I'm going to try to wrap this so that it stays inside. I'm going to start right here on the round side, and I'm going to use the round side of my scissors so that I don't rip it to pieces. Okay, so you make sure you overlap that fold really well so that we get, we'll move over here a little bit off the seam of that table. Okay, now if you're not careful, this can easily rip. Okay, another fold here. And then we're on our way. Around we go. I'm going to make sure that it's ending up where I want it to be. I don't really like that big fold in there, but anyways, we will work around that. It's a little bit harder to wrap a bigger one. Okay, and now we're going to come around to the point again, where the point of this is going to be wrapped underneath. And we'll just fold it back underneath to seal it shut. And there we have our papillote. I'm just going to make sure that all of this is sealed properly so that it seals in that moisture. Let's give it one final to ensure that it stays sealed. Alright, so there's our meal. So now this fish is trout, fresh trout, but it could be many, many other fish. There's a multitude of fish that you could use for trout papillote. Now we're just going to take this to the oven. And we're going to put it in the oven for about 10 minutes. Maybe this one's going to take a little bit longer. This one might take about 15 minutes. So off to the oven we go. Alright, now we've got our papillote out of the oven. We have our individual portion as well as our entire meal portion. I've got a little plate here with some vegetables and a little bit of garnishes. There's some little bit of concassé salsa and some different vegetables. Now, just to note, this zucchini is not cooked. The carrot is par blanched. The beans are just a little bit blanched before I would add them to a packet. But these vegetables are all prepared to garnish our beautiful papillote. So there's our papillote, and that's how you would present it in the dining room. And then we have our meal sized that would be presented like that. Now the idea is that the customer would take these and would open them themselves. So that would go like this. And as you can see, you're going to get a whole bunch of steam coming out of there, and the customer is going to get to smell that first. So pull that back and you'd serve it just like that with all that lovely juice inside there. Alright, now the entree size that has all the vegetables and stuff cooked inside it is going to do a similar thing. It's going to have steam coming out. A little bit awkward to take it out, but there's this one. Got all the vegetables and rice inside it ready to go. I'll just rip it right there for presentation. Now if you wanted to open this, ruffle it up and send it out like that, maybe you'd serve a little bit of a sauce with that, like a hollandaise or a really nice cream sauce or beurre blanc. Alright, and there is your trout papillote. Entree portion. Here's an individual portion with its own portion of vegetables outside the bag. Well, I hope you learned something about classic French cooking today. And that's what we do at Tazen Lake Lodge, is lots of classic French cooking. This is just one example of some of the things that we might come up with if you come to visit us. Take care and have a good day.